But with just under a week to go before the country goes to the polls, local election fever, it's almost upon us. All right, Tim, I'm just going to want another take on that, because can we take a look at some of the wording here, because this is bullshit. All right, election fever. Oh, I've broken out in a cold sweat. People are breaking out in hives at all the excitement, aren't they? And this, before the country goes to the polls. The last local election in 2014, 65% of people didn't bother turning up, Tim. They had better shit to do. Cash in the Attic was on or something. Mind you, last year's general election, 65% of people did turn up. Look how that turned out. If people hadn't have bothered, maybe we'd still have a Human Rights Act. Maybe we wouldn't be turning our backs on desperately vulnerable children fleeing war. Maybe there wouldn't be a massive for sale sign outside the NHS, and maybe we wouldn't have a government who were trying to abolish schools. Don't need schools. I want corporate-run academies, please. Let's get as much shit as we can into the private sector before we sign TTIP, and then there's no going back. Election fever! And if you live in London, you get to vote for a new mayor. Double election fever, coming out both ends. The Tories' mayoral election strategy this time isn't to diddle their expenses like last year. Their election strategy this time is to insinuate that the Labour candidate is a terrorist. He might be a human rights lawyer and might have been a vocal anti-extremist his entire career, but with a name like Sadiq Khan, you wouldn't trust him with a backpack on a tube train, would you? Let alone fixing the tube train ticket prices, whereas Zach Goldsmith, he's a lot less bomby, isn't he? He's a bit more plummy. He's a little bit more daddy's millions. Billions, actually. But he's a lot less bomby, isn't he? What? They diddled their expenses. Tim, they've admitted it. The Conservatives have admitted to election expenses errors to the tune of tens of thousands of pounds. Now, one of two things is happening there. Either they did it on purpose, in which case they've just committed electoral fraud, or two, they did it by mistake, which is the first time the Tories have admitted incompetence when it comes to basic bookkeeping. And in the interest of balance, it's worth pointing out that Labour don't seem too bothered by the election expenses errors, which means one of two things. Either one, they were doing similar, in which case just shut the whole House of Commons down and turn it into a fucking casino and let's start again. Or two, the opposition need to pull their finger out and grow some balls. No matter what's happening though, it's all terribly depressing, and I'm moving to Zimbabwe, where they have been free of election fever since 1980. The only fever you can get there is dengue, or one of those ones where your cock falls off before you die slowly and horribly and painfully, which is ultimately more preferable than UK local election fever. So can I make these changes or what? Hello? He's gone home. He's gone home.